For instance, during the floods that we had in Thailand a couple of years ago, not the major floods we had last year, my government had to spend a huge amount of money in terms of rehabilitation programs, compensation, and so on. And we made sure that this was transparent. What we did was we made sure that any agency that puts in requests for budget, citing the floods as reasons for this and that project, they have to submit full information. Photographs of the damages that they claim had taken place, an assessment of the costs, and all this we made available not just to members of parliament, but also put up on government websites with reference prices and of course all the information concerning the bidding process for these projects, and allowing people to actually lodge complaints through these websites so that we can continue to monitor the way money is spent. It's this kind of standard where government fully discloses what it's doing. It's not only a way of preventing corruption, but also it's a way of engaging the public and general people to help you fight corruption. You need to have a free press, because they will be important watchdogs that must have teeth, and therefore can expose any kind of irregularities that take place. We need also to always be on the lookout to make sure that the public continues to be interested, continues to be aware, and has the possibilities of participating in the fight against corruption. One of the significant steps that my government also took was to invite the private sector to engage in this anti-corruption campaign. We said that when corruption takes place, usually three parties are involved: politicians, bureaucrats, and also the private sector. Every time we say somebody has taken a bribe, that means somebody has paid the bribe. And for too long, the private sector felt that the matter of fighting corruption was the business of government. It's not. It too has to join this fight against corruption, create the right attitudes, creates the energy among the businessmen that they too will not tolerate corruption and will also help the government to fight corruption. Only if we can raise the awareness of people, give them full information, invite them to participation, can we hope to be successful in our objectives. Thirdly, we have to recognize that enforcing anti-corruption measures inevitably involves fighting against those with power. And in any society, in any country where enforcement is weak, the people who engage in corrupt practices will always get away. Which is why we need special laws, we need special institutions that are strong enough to stand up to those in power. Often it's very tough. Often it's going to be politically difficult for people who want to join against the fight against corruption. And that is why we have to make sure that measures such as the protection of witnesses, whistleblowers, are also in place. That's the only way to make the powerful be held accountable. Moreover, we need also to recognize, as I said before, the evolving forms of corruption and look at the preventive measures. Particularly, I am now proposing, and the Counter-Corruption Commission of Thailand is now very much interested in making assessments and evaluations about policy designs and their impact on corruption. For instance, you may want to help farmers get good prices for their crops, but there are many ways of achieving that. Some of those will be market-friendly, transparent. Some of them will not be so transparent or market-friendly. That could lead to distortions, lead to loopholes, and therefore lead to corruption. Just as these days we evaluate policies and projects and see whether they are environmentally friendly, I think we should also assess all policies in terms of how friendly they are to anti-corruption measures as well. And finally, the bigger picture of the incentives of those who engage in corruption have, particularly involving the problem of money politics. Even in democracies, with intense competition in politics, the need to raise resources and to spend money to win elections, to engage in all kinds of marketing activities. These days, politics has become a very expensive business. And if raising that money is hard, if raising that money involves taking money from only certain individuals, certain groups, those people will be looking for the payback and for the rewards. And that's why in any fight against corruption, we also need to tackle the problem of money politics and how to design the political system or the democratic system to make sure that it doesn't succumb to the power of money. These are the kinds of issues, these are the kinds of thoughts that I'd like to offer, and hope that this coalition for clean governance will take up these issues in their respective countries and communities and find ways and then share experience and best practices so that we can improve upon the way we are handling the issue. But I should end by saying that despite all the know-hows that we may have, despite the good intentions, despite the political will, in the end, the fight against corruption can only be successful if the public or if the people want it to be. And that means we need to make sure that we instill the values of zero tolerance for corruption. In many societies, in many countries, in many democracies, often people just take the blind eye. They don't want to know about it, they don't think it's their business, and they feel that as long as things are going all right, or perhaps the economy continues to grow, their incomes continue to increase, that these issues don't matter. I don't believe that this can be sustained. And in the medium and the longer term, those economies, those democracies will suffer. And that's why we need to instill the right values among young people, among the public, to make sure that they have no tolerance for corrupt practices and that they feel that it is their duty to be part of this fight against corruption. We are fighting a problem that is as old as mankind, as old as greed, that has existed from the beginning of time. So it's going to be a long, difficult fight, and a fight that we will have to make sure that we win in the end. And I'm so pleased that here at this conference we have so many representatives from the ASEAN countries, because we are building a single community. What we need to recognize is that it's not enough to put our houses or our countries in order. In the end, our community will only be as strong as our weakest link. And therefore, we have to be aware that this will become a regional challenge as people, money, labor, capital, investment, and trade flow more freely across our borders. So I hope that you will all be encouraged and fired up to continue on this good fight against corruption, and that we will be able and be successful to achieve our aims, so that when we fully integrate into a single community, we truly realize the potential that this great region has. Good luck to all of you in this fight, and as far as us, Democrat Party in Thailand is concerned, we will stand with you side by side in this fight right to the end. Thank you very much.